here again for coffee for the mayor. And we have some guests today. We have Dr. Dan Keyser from the Stoughton Area School District. We have Police Chief Brandon Hill. And we have Chris from Stoughton Health is here.
Hello.
So you're going to get all sorts of information. So Dr. Keyser is going to go first.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. It's great to be here and be here on a sunny blue day. So we'll take the sun every day that'll come out, show its face. Just update from last fall. We've had a lot of activity from November through now. Back in February, we had our legislative day. We invited our elected officials, both local, county, state, and federal, up to the high school where they were treated with an entire day with students being in the high school classrooms, learn about our 18 to 21-year-old transition program, which also highlighted our partnerships with our business entities. So we had a great time. The elected officials got to experience the lunch line once again. Yes, fond memories. And then being able to, as you can see, we had Senator Radcliffe and our Vice President of the school board, Lisa Pugh, in a geometry classroom, and then Representative Udell, looks like he was also in a high school classroom, either geometry or algebra 2. Taking a short plug to highlight a new partnership that we have. Since I started here in Stoughton, I'm wrapping up my 4th year here in the Stoughton area school district. We are blessed with a lot of great partnerships in the school district. We have a lot of organizations that support the schools and support so many other community endeavors. The hospital, our Stoughton Community Foundation supports all of our scholarships, and they continue to do so. And yet there was a gap in which we were wanting to support our students while they're going through the school system. So while the Stoughton Community Foundation is supporting our student scholarships for when they walk across the stage and help support them moving forward into the next steps in their lives, the Stoughton Exceptional Educational Fund is a new nonprofit that is supporting students 4K through 21 while they're in school. So these are experiences that will help solidify and expose students to these experiences while they are in our schools. And so they kicked off their inaugural fundraiser with a pancake breakfast on Valentine's Day. And so I wanted to at least show you some photos of our celebrity waiters and chefs and highlight some of the people who were there. So if you had an opportunity, that I think this might be something that they will do annually. It was a great turnout. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there. I was stranded in coming back from a conference, and who knows, you have a thunderstorm over Dallas-Fort Worth, and it delays you about 5 hours. This week is Spread Goodness Week, and so you will see across our community, the mayor and the school district and business partners will be highlighting acts of kindness throughout our community, culminating this Friday with Spread Goodness Day. And wanted to highlight Lola, a Fox Prairie 5th grader, who designed this year's t-shirt. And so these are photos from past Spread Goodness Days. And so please wear your yellow this Friday to help support Spread Goodness. Very excited to share that our high school student council has won for the 4th year in a row the Spirit of Excellence Award. This is an award that high schoolers student council or student government apply for every year. They have to put a video and a portfolio together, and they submit it to the state council. And this year, we were excited to be awarded with the Spirit of Excellence. And so the leadership of the student council gets to go to a Bucks game, get recognized during halftime, where they will get their banner and award at the halftime of a Bucks game. Winter activities are just wrapping up. Girls state is this weekend, boys state's the following weekend. We had swim and hockey and wrestling in the past subsequent weekends. Gavin Reiser was a two-time state winner and a six-time record holder. He's broken pool records in the trailing end of the season here as he's continuing to accelerate himself through the water. And we're happy to celebrate his wins in breaststroke and I think IM. And then you can see some of our highlights from our boys and girls basketball teams in wrestling. And something to put on your calendar, we have our spring concert series. So band is coming up this week, I believe tomorrow actually. Yep, tomorrow. And then orchestra a week from Tuesday. Choir will be going off to New York City and performing at Carnegie Hall. Again, one of those exceptional experiences for our youth, being able to sing on the same stage as the Beatles and other well-known performers. Our middle school musical, Alice in Wonderland, will be coming up next week. This is the second year in a row that our middle school has put on a musical. So I told them last year when they wanted to do Aladdin, be prepared. Our community is going to support you, and they're going to want you to double up every single year. And so they've outdid themselves this year with Alice in Wonderland. So if you have an opportunity, please come out next week. And then our honors awards night. We're kicking off March, so we've got March, April, May. We are spring concerts, award ceremonies, musicals, and culminating graduation the first Sunday in June. Questions? That's a lot. Perfect. We have our calendar of events. They're up all over town, so please feel free. These dates are all on there as well as on our website. But if you want or need any information, just call the district office, and Abby Sharp, our communications specialist, will be able to get information out to you. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Dr. Keyser? And I just want to say, you hosted the solo ensemble this past weekend, which was great. There's some people in the room here that volunteered, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And I'm going to get Chris set up here next, and if you think any questions while I'm doing that for Dan, just shout them out, he'll answer for you.
Or just pull me over, I'll gladly sit down.
I was just wondering if the enrollment has settled down as far as...
I wish I could say yes.
Not yet, huh?
Not yet. You know, with all the holes in the ground, now we're just waiting for families to find those, and we've been very blessed with the mayor's help and our chamber to get the word out about all of the housing in our area. And so, knock on wood, we've got families that have reached out. We've had some families move in. I just heard 2 weeks ago that a family was relocating from the Masson area, and they decided to settle in Stoughton. So they had a couple of different options, and they chose Stoughton. So we'll be getting a few more kids beginning next year. So.
Yeah, and I'm doing a presentation at City Council tomorrow night that'll give kind of a summary of where we're at. And what I've seen is, even though our enrollment is still continuing to fall, it's not falling at the rate that was projected just a couple of years ago, so that's encouraging, but we're still not there yet.
Tomorrow night is our 4K kindergarten enrollment night. So we will have, that always kind of kicks off the spring season where our families that are in 4K in surrounding areas will enroll for kindergarten, and then we get new families for our 4K sites. So that's an opportunity for us to get an insight as to new families who've moved into the Stoughton area. We certainly know what's happening in our city, but what we don't know all the time is what's happening in our surrounding areas, because we've stretched as far as Cottage Grove and Deerfield, but then down towards Edgerton, Evansville area, and so forth. So some of those rural areas are a little bit harder to know exactly who's moved in, where some of those areas are. I know Cottage Grove has been building up lately. So.
I thought I had it downloaded here, Chris.
I think Kate Stannard is the person I would email it.
Who did?
Kate Stannard,
Okay.
Stannard,
I'll look at it that way.
or Laura Hayes.
You said K?
Kate.
K.
Stannard,
Very good.
Yes, we did.
I thought I downloaded it.
We did the Valentine's Day thing for it. It's basically, it's like a Make-A-Wish Foundation for kids that aren't sick.
All right.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty amazing how the storm will mess up this airlines. Delta melted down this weekend, this last weekend.
It's a nice hailstorm.
Really?
Yeah, we had a tough time getting back, so.
Where were you?
Florida.
Oh.
Yeah, so we need to go time to raise kids.
We're all set.
Okay.
At the mic and the up arrow, the down arrow.
Okay,
that's the slide for you.
thank you.
Bet.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, there we go. Much better, my voice sounds deeper. Anyway, yep, it sounds deeper. Anyway, so hello, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Chris. I serve as the president and CEO of Stoughton Health Association, Stoughton Hospital, if you will, and our urgent cares. And so very grateful to be here. I'm just going to give you a little presentation on the hospital. But I thought, I made some assumptions during this presentation. I assume that you all know what the terms healthcare mean and rural health and all of these other things. And oftentimes people don't. So I thought I'd provide a little added information and then answer any questions. So if you're wondering why the little bit of extra, it's in order to provide background that we often in healthcare or any other industry just assume that folks are aware of all the different vernacular. Healthcare has its own language. Law enforcement has its own language and codes and everything else. Education certainly does. And so this is right in line with the vernacular. Is there a button to push to get the buttons to
Should be an arrow button.
Yep.
Didn't that go?
Nope. I can stand by the computer. So, all right. Well, the mission of Stoughton Hospital, of course, is to whoops, I kind of advanced one a little bit here. So our mission is, if you focus on the last three words, exceptional personalized service. We try very hard to make each person, each experience be personalized, because you're there for yourself, not everybody else, right? Or you're there for your family member. And we want you to feel like you're the very most important thing going on in that moment. Do we get it right every time? Honestly, no. Sometimes people show up with not all the information they need. They may have a preconceived notion. We may have a preconceived notion. And so sometimes there's a mix-up in communication. If you think of all the conflict that can happen and misunderstanding that happens, it's all around communication, right? So we're under a constant vigilance to improve our communication so that we can provide the best experience possible. Our vision is to change with the changing healthcare needs of all of you. Healthcare is very different than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's evolving. As a clinical person, I wouldn't even recognize the training I went through 34 years ago as a clinician. And so we have to evolve and do the things that we do. So for instance, buying an orthopedic robot. So we now use a robot to assist the orthopedic surgeon for things like joint replacements, whether your knees or your hips. Pretty soon we'll bring online shoulder replacements and shoulder repairs, all being utilized with a robot. Because it's our responsibility to all of you to keep up with the latest in technology so that we can provide the very latest techniques in healthcare and for all of you. And then of course our values, how we present ourselves to you all, to the community, and quite frankly to one another in the hospital. Because not only are patients and families our customers, we're each other's customers. We have to take care of ourselves. The philosophy I always tell our folks is the number one priority is for people is to take care of themselves. Because if they don't take care of themselves and whatever makes them whole, how can they be part of a team that then takes care of the patient and the patient's family? If any of you all been to the doctor, I have been, I think all of us have at one point or the other, at one point or another, you don't see just one person, right? You see 3 or 4 people, whether it's the valet, whether it's the nurse, the MA, whomever. We all have to be 100% on our game before we can provide that very best of ourselves to all of you. So that's the philosophy I and we have at the hospital. So I thought I'd ask you all, what's healthcare? It's very different for everybody else, right? So what is healthcare? Well, healthcare, according to the dictionary, is well-being through the prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and management of disease, illness, injury, and other impairments. Holy cow, that's quite the language, right? Well, the problem is that the U.S. healthcare system is built mostly for late-stage crisis care. We fix what is broken versus help you to stay unbroken. Well care, right? Now, I would argue that the patient also has a responsibility. How many people do we know don't follow the physician's instructions because they know better? Or they go to googledoctor.com and they can fix it themselves versus a person who's been in training for 12 or 14 years and has all the additional training. So again, it's a give and take on both sides. Oftentimes patients don't follow instruction and then they wonder why things don't work anymore. So I work in heart surgery. You'd be amazed at how many people said, oh, the doctor fixed my coronaries, I can start smoking again. True story. I've heard that several times, and it happens. So then they wonder why then they're sick so much, so much sooner after the fact. So it's a shared responsibility. That's well care. Now, sometimes as healthcare workers and providers, we fall short. No question, and we recognize that. Sometimes the patients fall short as well. And then they wonder why they're sick. And a pill doesn't fix everything. It really doesn't. Lifestyle is a huge part of all of that, but that's a whole other topic we can talk about forever and ever. So just healthcare by the numbers. People are wondering, well, how much does this cost? Well, it costs a heck of a lot, right? Right now, our healthcare, or that healthcare cost in the United States is 18% of the gross domestic product. All the things created in the United States. Healthcare, how many people know what the gross domestic product is? Yeah, about $16–17 trillion, right? Does everybody know how much a trillion is? How many seconds, if you were to live for 1 trillion seconds, how many years would you be alive?
10.
Close, 36,860 years is 1 trillion seconds. Honest to goodness, yeah. So 1 trillion is just that large, right? That's close. So healthcare is the largest employed sector in the United States, 17 million people. The largest expenses, we spoke about this, hospitals, you spend the most money on hospitals, followed by physician and clinic services, and then pharmaceuticals. We all know how much medications cost, right? And then chronic disease. Approximately 90% of all healthcare expenditures for people with chronic and mental health conditions. So that's where all the expenses, 90% of those chronic issues. Where is the most healthcare spent in your entire life? In your life? Last 6 months to a year. Very good. Yes, sir. You were in the Navy? Awesome. I was Air Force. Really? Oh, so you know a lot of this stuff already. Here, can I hand you the mic? So yeah, so truly very, very expensive. And we as a society, we spend the most per capita of any healthcare organization. Each and every one of you, we spend over $15,000 for every single man, woman, and child in the United States just on healthcare. Each and every single person. So lots and lots there. So I'll try to stay on track because I know other folks are talking everything else. I have other things just as important or more important to talk about. So what's rural? What do we mean when we say rural? Everyone thinks of all this pristine looking farm somewhere out in the community with picket fence and cows and goats meandering around and everything else, right, in isolation. Well, no, not exactly. Rural generally refers to sparsely populated areas, that's true. The U.S. Census Bureau defines rural as any territory populated housing not in an urban area. So if you're not urban, you must be rural, right? So that's pretty easy to decide there, right? And so you have a few numbers there. But the rural areas encompass over 84% of the geographic area of the United States, but is home to only about 20% of the population in what's considered rural areas. And then beyond those numbers, rural areas are often identified by their land use, what you do with the land, right? So that's essentially rural. Now, let's put the two together. Rural health care and rural health care characteristics. Okay, very different than urban, quite frankly. So specific medical needs and service delivery challenges of these populations being rural. Okay, there are higher risks. There's higher rates of death from heart disease, cancer, unintended injuries. And the reason I say this, and I say this with 100% respect, my grandparents were farmers, on both sides of my family. I couldn't believe it when somebody said they had grandparents that didn't live on a farm. That's how used to that I was. And farm people, they're tough as nails. And I was going to say something like badasses, but I shouldn't say ass in public, so I did. So I'm sorry about that. But anyway, but they're tough as nails. My mom is a farm girl. Okay, and she survived septic shock in the hospital, which has a greater than 50% mortality rate. She's a farm girl. My mother-in-law, farm girl. Doctor said to her one time, you know, you have bone on bone in your knee. Jane, does that hurt? Oh, you know, not too much. She said, you must have grown up on a farm, didn't you? She said, yes, I did. And so it's very, quite frankly, very different. Farmers tend to show up later in the disease process because they just sort of ignore it. Well, I'll deal with it, you know, because they have other things to do, and it just is what it is. So we have access barriers because it's hard to get around. Transportation can be very difficult in the rural setting as well. People are often more isolated. And there's not as many specialized physicians and providers in the rural setting. So we try to bring those specialists to the rural setting, like Stoughton Hospital. And we have many workforce gaps and all of those other things. A lot less people want to settle in rural areas, okay? Usually the folks that settle in rural areas are those that grew up in rural areas, okay? And even a lot of folks that grew up in rural want to live in the city. So the demographics are who we are. There tends to be higher rates of folks that are older in the rural setting. There tends to be not as much in terms of fiscal resources, and they're less likely to have health insurance compared to others. So that's kind of what we work with in the rural setting. And then so, that being said, we have to think of ourselves as a hospital in a rural setting, that hospital that helps rural folks. What can we bring so that I'm not saying to you all, well, here's what I think you need, so this is what I'm going to do for you. It's much more important to say, hey, what do you need? And I will do my best, and we as a hospital will do our best to bring that to you. So we look at, okay, what are the greatest issues in the rural healthcare setting versus the urban setting or healthcare in the big city? Two very different things. Now don't let that confuse you at all. The part of that is, well, that's all right. Are you okay?
Sorry, yeah, my phone's acting up.
No, that's all right. No worries
I think
at
it's
all.
some relatives bragging about their nieces and nephews' achievements.
Well, good for them. Congratulations to them. Well, that's very important. There's a lot of state sports going on these days. So anyway, my point to all of this is, what can we bring to all of you, but yet still stay connected to those urban areas that have a higher acuity care, like heart surgery, like brain surgery, like cath labs, those bigger surgical procedures that quite frankly should be in a larger urban center because they take care of more folks with those kinds of challenges. So I always say we can do anything, but we can't do everything. So let's do what we do really, really well. And that's what we try hard to do. So we bring things like outpatient behavioral health care. A lot of folks, as we get older, me being one of them, I don't let this male pattern baldness and silver highlights fool you. I get these for free. A lot of people pay good money for them. But anyway, my point to that is, I'm right there with you. And the other piece of this is all the baby boomers now, by 2030, all of us will be 65 or older. So there's a very large population of folks 65 and older moving through the healthcare system. So anyway, Senior Life Solutions, as we get older, we get more challenges at times, right? And so it's an opportunity to have a conversation with somebody who can help us with those challenges if you wish to have that. And we have that right here at Stoughton Health. And so they're seeing patients now, and that group is starting to grow. And hopefully they're finding it really helpful. How many folks know that we have an inpatient geropsychiatric unit? So we take care of folks as on inpatients 55 years and older who have behavioral health challenges, they're dealing with dementia, Alzheimer's, which by the way are two very different things. Dementia and Alzheimer's are not the same thing. Oftentimes have the same symptoms, but two very different disease processes. But my point to that is we provide outpatient follow-up to help folks with that. So Senior Life Solutions is just one of those services, and another one is our outpatient center in general. I said grow with the growing needs of the community, right? And so that's what we try to do. And in this outpatient center, we bring orthopedics, general surgery, podiatric surgery, foot surgeons, right? How many have sore backs? Often starts with your feet. So you take care of your feet, your back is usually, except for mine sometimes, your back is usually better off if you wear good shoes and take care of your feet. But we brought a podiatric surgeon and a foot doctor in, understanding that the needs of this particular population have a lot to do with people's feet, believe it or not. Then, of course, cardiology, and we were just chatting about that before. We have a cardiology group, and then urology and wound care. As we get older and we get wounds, they tend not to heal as quickly, right? Blood doesn't circulate quite as well. So how do we address that for folks? And of course, these are our orthopedic surgeons, and all terrific, and again, use all state-of-the-art equipment to help you out. Very easy to reach, and it's all right here. This is one of our biggest selling points. Do we have orthopedic surgeons at SSM and at UW and everything else? Well, of course there are, and they're very, very good. And maybe you can get an appointment in a month or two, okay? Or you can come to see us in a week or two, or less, okay? Now, I don't know if you all know this, because I talked about before, sometimes we miss the mark with folks. All of our physicians, all of us trained at the very same places that large urban center people also work at. I come from a quaternary care center. I used to work in heart transplantation and all of these other things in the big city. And that's what I enjoy doing, but I just as much love and enjoy rural health care as well. That's why I moved from the big city to a smaller town. My point to that is we're all trained in the same universities and held to the same standards of care and quality. So, and we are benchmarked or compared to every other hospital in the country. And if we don't meet or exceed these standards, we hear about it. And we can actually have our licenses pulled if we don't meet and exceed those standards. And I would argue we always have to exceed those standards because people in small town, they talk a lot. And it's a smaller group of folks. So folks hear of it if we don't do a good job, as they should. What we would like to do is hear of it ourselves so that we can improve. So anyway, these are orthopedic surgeons, and Dr. Henningsen, of course, and there's the robot I spoke of. And we often give online talks, presentations, sometimes in person. We just had her come and meet the docs event the other day, a couple of weeks ago, that went off really well, so we'll do that again next year. So, because we want you to be able to hear from them directly on the things that they can do, have you be able to ask questions of them, so you can kind of hear about what you need. What I really appreciate about our doctors, if something comes across that they can't take care of, say you have bone cancer, these are bone doctors, right? They're orthopedic surgeons, they fix broken bones, things like that. They are not orthopedic oncologists. They don't fix bone cancer, but they know who to send you to that can, or that can at least help you through that. Okay, and that's what's so important about us, is that we give you access right away, but we also can get you that access, that one-stop shop to more advanced care that we don't do here. Quite frankly, that we shouldn't do here, because they already do that at the large university center or the larger hospitals that can afford all of that advanced equipment and people that it requires. takes a much larger team. The sicker you are, the larger the team it takes to care for you, quite honestly. And then, of course, our general surgeon right now, we're still looking for a general surgeon. Dr. Pergandy has been gracious enough to step in and help us out while we're looking for a full-time surgeon. But she does a lot of the general surgical, provides a lot of the general surgical needs for us, for our patients. So, no, we don't have a general surgical robot yet, but we're working on getting one of those as well. Does anybody know how much a robot costs? General surgical robot is $2.6 million. That's just off the top. Software is another $500,000, instrumentation another $500,000. And so if we wonder why healthcare is so expensive, that's one of the reasons. But again, it's something that you need for more precise surgery, and it's not just about keeping up with the Joneses, it's providing the technology you need to get the very same quality care as you would anywhere else, right? And so it's that investment that we have in the community as well. So the Mako robot wasn't quite as expensive, the orthopedic one, but I'm sure that'll catch up soon. So anyway, and then of course cardiology with Dr. Krager and Dr. Sriram, board certified, of course, just like all the other physicians, and provide a variety of cardiology care. Now the other thing is if you need a heart cath or you need heart surgery, we certainly don't do that here, but they can give you a direct line to where you can go if you need more advanced therapy than seeing a doctor in the clinic. So, and let's see, and then neurospine, I just mentioned back problems, right? So we brought in a partnership with the Neurospine Center of Wisconsin. So they're a musculoskeletal group, so if you have joint issues, back issues, anything musculoskeletal, if you will, you'll actually see a doctor that specializes in that. They're called physiatrists, okay? And they can actually help alleviate some of your pain without giving you narcotics just to cover it up, okay? They can actually deal with the problem directly by giving you a joint injection and other therapies that will help you in partnership, oftentimes with physical therapists, and sometimes with chiropractors, depending on what the issue is. And so again, right here in Stoughton, you can see one of these folks in Madison, and your initial time with them, your initial wait will be about 6 to 8 weeks, or you can see these guys later this week or early next week. And so Dr. Greenberg, who's from the Madison area, very, very good, very talented, helps provide different service for that. And so again, right here at Stoughton Hospital. So bringing those services that fits our population. Do we deliver babies? The answer is no, we don't. Does anybody ever wonder why we don't deliver babies? Because there's not enough young people delivering babies in this area. Quite frankly, we just talked about what's happening with the schools and stuff. So there's multiple reasons why. Plus, we're closer to larger hospitals that do deliver babies, and then you want to be able to deliver enough babies every year so that it's safe to deliver babies in your organization, right? Who wants to go have a baby at a place that delivers 10 a year or delivers 100 a year? Delivering babies is easy. Not having babies, delivering babies is easy when nothing goes wrong. 95% of your training is taking care of things when something goes wrong. And so you always want to be prepared when something goes wrong. And we are very prepared in those things that we do. But there's things that you shouldn't do because you just don't do enough of it because of the population or because of a shortage of physicians or other folks. And so you do what you do very well, but let others do what they do very well, okay, rather than try to recreate the wheel. And then finally, just awards and recognitions. The hospital is well recognized, both regionally and nationally in different things. We're recognized in 2026 again as one of the best places to work. You might say, well, what difference does that make? So what? If you have a happy team, if your team is engaged, you will have, by reams of data that are out there, better patient care in terms of quality and patient satisfaction. If you have an engaged workforce that likes working at your facility. And that's true anywhere, whether it's true teachers groups, officers, anywhere. Engagement is key.
And it
Mayor's
helps you
office.
attract others who are quality also.
What's that?
And it helps you attract other employees who are
Huge.
quality.
Yes, it attracts those people, makes them want to come here. A lot of folks love living in Madison, but don't want to work at a hospital that costs $150 a month, a year to, or a month, I guess, $100 a month to park. And that it's a huge thing, and that folks, patients just tend to be on a conveyor belt. You know, not that, I mean, I loved, when I lived in the big city, just being able to go with my primary care and say, hey, this is this and this, and they said, okay, thanks, we'll see you in a year, and done. As I've gotten older, I like being more engaged, having my physician know more about me, because then I don't have to keep re-explaining myself over and over again. All right, so there's trade-offs in both systems. Both have their advantages, and both have their disadvantages. So, and then finally, community education and outreach. I don't know if you know this, but the hospital contributes about $4.4 million annually, either in direct or indirect community support. Direct being giving monies to different organizations, or indirect by volunteering in the community. And so community service is very important, and quite frankly, it's our responsibility as one of the larger employers in town. So just to let you know, so we are heavily involved in all of that as well, and many classes and such. And then our foundation. Okay, hospitals can't live without a foundation. So a foundation does a lot of fundraisers, things like that, to raise dollars for the hospital. As you heard me mention, healthcare is very expensive with very thin margins, meaning we have barely, we make just enough to keep the lights on, invest in these horrifyingly expensive technologies that we need to. And so we look to our foundation and to others to help us raise additional dollars to pay for things that go directly to the hospital. Very low administrative costs, okay? So it's not like we get $1 from the community and 90 cents is spent on administrative costs. If we get $1 from the community, almost all of it, I think 95 or 98 cents on the dollar, goes right to buying stuff or taking care of stuff directly for the community. And then finally, our partners of Stoughton Health, our volunteers, our wonderful hospital volunteers are amazing. And I would say that even without some sitting right here in this room. They are spectacular because they do so much. Hospitals couldn't run, whether you're a very large hospital or a smaller hospital like us, couldn't run without, we couldn't go without our volunteers. So, I know I spent a lot of time, probably 20 or 25 minutes on this, and so just wanted to thank you for your time and attention. So, we love being here and serving Stoughton and the surrounding communities, McFarland, Oregon, Cottage Grove, and anyone in between and all over. So, anyway, if you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them. If you have a complaint, I'm glad to hear it. We always try to fix things. Hopefully we do to satisfaction. Most of the time we do, but sometimes, again, we fail, but we learn from it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for Chris?
Well, if you do, you can always reach out, and I'm very happy to answer any questions. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go one more.
Blank?
Yeah.
They're all blank. All right, I don't know how I did that. All right, thanks again, Chris, appreciate you being here. A lot of information, good information. It's nice for me to have a copy of it, so it gives me something to reference. So next up, I want to introduce our police chief, Brandon Hill. You can see here's our mission statement. Brandon has been with the force for what, 25-ish?
25, starting my 26th year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so 25 years in the community, multiple positions, including served as acting police chief when Chief Jenks retired. We have a great culture in our police department. Some of the comments you just made about attracting people, Brandon and Chief Jenks and the rest of the team have really done a nice job bringing in, especially some of the younger officers here recently. He's got a great track record. He's got education to back it up. We interviewed 5 candidates, and Brandon rose to the top, so we're really pleased that we could hire somebody from internal. So at this point, I just want to give him a few minutes to kind of introduce himself, let you guys get to know him a little bit. If you have any questions for him, feel free to ask, put him on the hot seat. He's good on his feet.
Hello.
Hi.
Brandon Hill. Still getting used to saying I'm the chief of police. For the last 3 years, I said lieutenant, so if I screw up and say lieutenant, it's only because this is new. Very fitting that I follow Chris and Dan, because I was actually born at Stoughton Hospital, back when they did deliver babies. And luckily, I was one of the ones that had no problems, and they got right, although some of my coworkers might question it. After being born at Stoughton Hospital, I attended Stoughton School District. Went to St. Anne's for elementary, attended Stoughton Middle School, which is now River Bluff. Stoughton High School, I played on Collins Field, football, ran track, graduated from there. Went off to Stevens Point, where I got a 4-year Bachelor's of Science degree in sociology. Apparently didn't do well outside of Stoughton because I immediately came back. I got hired by Stoughton Police Department in 2000. 9 years patrol, 13 years as detective, 3 years as lieutenant, 3 weeks as acting chief, and now 1 week as actual chief. So, like I pointed out in all my interviews, to get this job, if you want Stoughton, I'm it. Born and raised here, other than 4 years of drinking the water up in Stevens Point. You know, one of the questions I get a lot is, what are the changes I'm going to make now that I'm chief? And there's not going to be a whole heck of a lot. Dan Jenks, also a Stoughtonite, again, born here, went to school here, everything else. For the last 3 years, I worked side by side with him. If there were any major changes that we saw, they would have happened already. So my goal in taking this job is to maintain the level we're already at. We're a phenomenal police department. I've argued with some other chiefs recently. I say we're the best in Dane County. They have different opinions, but they're entitled to that. One of the minor things I want to see our cops doing more is just more interaction with the public. One of the first things I did, it was actually one of the first major meetings I went to as lieutenant, which was with the school district. It was before we had an SRO, and I was talking to all the principals and other school staff, and they really missed having our previous SRO, and they said, we wish your cops would be in the schools more. And I said, well, be careful what you wish for, because I can put them there. I started a school walkthrough program. We require our officers, when they're not out doing traffic enforcement and other things, to walk through the schools, interact with staff, interact with students, just be part of the community and part of the public there. It has been a huge success, in my opinion. Dan's nodding his head, so the staff love it. You know, it's oftentimes, I'm sure many of you in the room have these questions where you're like, if I could just ask a cop. Well, we take the cops and we put them in the school, so when these students have questions, they can walk up and ask them. Same with teachers, same with administration. I'd like to expand that more. I'm going to urge the cops to do more walkthroughs at businesses, at the senior center, at things like that. Just be more available. One of the things I learned in my 13 years as detective, I gave a lot of community presentations, things like that, and it was very common that I would do a presentation at, say, a bank, and then that bank would be a victim of fraud a week or a month later. And they liked that it was a friendly face, somebody they had already dealt with, you know, previously, that was coming in, and not just a cop off the street. They got to know who you were a little bit before they were in the stressful, traumatic situation. So I'm going to urge my road cops to do more of that, more interaction with the public. That way it's not always just the negative, you got stopped for speeding on a Highway 51 or something like that. So that's, I guess, me. I guess the main point of this was kind of an introduction. So any questions?
I got a question. Yeah, I live up by the high school.
Okay.
And of course, certain times of the day, the streets around the high school can be turned into racetracks pretty much.
Yep.
And I know before, you know, the signboards with, you know, posting your speed, the
Yep.
radar boards, are those effective in controlling anything? Or does more direct action need?
High schoolers are different than most of society. They're
Well,
learning how to be
the parents
adults.
are just as bad.
Yes. Yes. So they're effective in a lot of different ways. One is it tracks all the speeds, and we can see if there's truly problems in the areas. I can tell you, high school, yes, there is problems there. Sometimes when we put speed boards out, it's because a citizen is like, they're doing 100 miles an hour down my road every day, and we put the speed board there, and we're like, well, they're actually doing like 30 miles an hour most of the time, and because you're on a curve, it looks faster and things like that. So it helps us figure out where to target our speed enforcement. I wish we had more cops and could be every place at once, but most of the time we're running 2 road cops on at a time. So it's hard because speed and parking are 1 and 2 complaints that we deal with, and it's not just the high school, it's every school that would want us doing speed enforcement and crosswalk enforcement, things like that around their schools. We try to do that. We also have calls for service too, so it's not perfect. Did that answer your question, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. Other,
More of a statement than anything else. We just hired a gentleman who, his job is environment of care for the entire hospital, and it involves numerous things, but one of the things it involves with is working directly with you and your team for mass casualty preparation and disaster preparedness. So looking forward to him reaching out to you. His name is Tony, and he's a longtime Stoughtonite as well. You'll recognize him probably when he reaches out. But it'll be great to, I've always appreciated, just in my short time, I've only been here about 12 to 14 months. And so, but all the engagement and working with the officers and such. So looking forward to him connecting with you and making that a much more streamlined process.
it sounds great. We, 2, maybe 3 years ago, did a large-scale exercise before your time where we had to evacuate, I think it was the almost entire 3rd floor.
Yeah.
It was fire, EMS, police, and hospital staff, and I can tell you that was eye-opening. The hospital put it on. They did a phenomenal job of bringing in volunteers who played like they were residents of the hospital, but some of them were like, well, I have 2 broken legs. So now, we've got this major disaster going on at the hospital. We, along with fire and EMS, have to figure out how to triage these people and how to get them out. Of course, they threw some wrenches in it, and halfway through, working through everybody, magically the elevators went down. So now it's like, how do we get this person out and downstairs?
Yeah.
And that's what we need, because practice makes perfect. And, knock on wood, we never have to do it for real, but, the more we can practice those sort of things, the better we'll be as a community.
Definitely, and sadly, we also have to prepare for, shooter.
Yep.
And so we're working with you on, we most recently did have I think it was with your officers also, an active shooter drill.
Yep.
And so we'll be looking to do more of that as well, and sadly, we have to prepare for that. And then also, the other thing that folks don't think about a lot in smaller communities, having to prepare, say if ICE shows up, and where they can go, where they can't go, and who we can call and can't call.
Yep.
So it's really looking forward to the partnership with you. So.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Okay, well, the other slide the mayor has here is Safety Camp is back. So Safety Camp is a 2-day safety camp for kids that are entering 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So if you have any grandchildren, nieces, nephews, things like that are in that group, make sure they are aware of this opportunity. It's 2 days. They literally go station to station, and it's all safety related. It's not just police department. It's police, fire, EMS, game wardens, animal safety. We've got people coming down from the zoo that talk about how to interact with dogs and cats should you run into a stray dog or cat out on the street. Things like that. It's fun. We do water safety, which is a whole afternoon. It'll be in the pool, so they'll get to swim. They'll get to learn stuff while they think they're playing and monkeying around. Bike safety, all that sort of stuff. It's minimal cost. If people can't afford it, we are more than willing to waive it. It'll be this summer. It doesn't have the dates, but it's 3rd week of June. I don't have the exact dates, but if you go to our Facebook page, it's got the link to sign up and then all the further information about it.
Does Stoughton have a Citizens Police Academy?
We do. We run that every fall. We've done 4 or 5 of them. If you have any interest in it, sign up.
That's good.
Yeah, the mayor's done it. Most of our elected officials have done it. We urge them to do it. Again, people get to have fun. You get to learn how to do our defense and arrest techniques, a little bit of like fighting and stuff like that. If you want, you can get tased. You get to drive a police car.
They get to tase other people.
Yes.
Sure. And again, you think you're having fun, but our goal is we're educating you about our job. And sometimes you see things on TV And you're like, well, why did the cop choose to do that? We answer a lot of those questions. We go through scenarios. We get to put you through scenarios and see how you react in a very stressful situation. It's just a wonderful opportunity for growth and knowledge building. So.
I talked to you in private a while ago about the scooter problem.
Yep.
And I fully realize there's very little you can do, but it's unnerving for the driving a car and not knowing where that child's gonna turn and when they're gonna go where.
Yep, it's, I mean, like we talked about, one of my coworkers sliding down. Technology is growing so quickly and laws change slowly. And it's hard. And the other thing is scooters are driven by adults. Scooters are driven by 10-year-old kids. If you're over the age of 16, more than likely you've had some sort of driver safety, you understand traffic laws, things like that. But if you're 10 years old, you just know that you got a cool ass scooter and you can drive 40 miles an hour on it, and that's where you see them passing cars on Main Street. I can tell you, we get complaints about scooters in all aspects of this city. So it started with, oh my God, they're flying down the trails, I'm trying to walk my dog. So then they were like, get them off the trails, get them on the roads. Well, on the roads, not safe. There is no good place for these scooters. And then again, they're kids dealing with this, so trying to educate them about traffic laws and things like that. I think the school district, especially the middle school, is doing a lot of that. Knock on wood, it seems to be working a little bit. We didn't have the same complaints last fall that we had a year ago, but with days like this, scooter season's coming quick, and as soon as you give some rambunctious kids access to that kind of technology, they're going to be out having fun as they see it. We fortunately haven't had a major accident, but lots of communities have. This is not a Stoughton specific problem. It is everywhere, and there's no good fix for it. Scooters are viewed as play toys for the most part, so it's the same as the little trike that the 3-year-old rides. And like, are we going to ban those from going down sidewalks and try to put them in the road? We can't do that. And we don't want them in the road either. I can tell you that City Council, the Public Safety Commission, which is a commission within City Council that deals with public safety, they're working on this. Every single meeting we discuss scooters and what we can do to prevent injuries and accidents with scooters. It's not an easy topic.
No, I just wanted to make a comment. I enjoy the partnership that we've had, and absolutely applaud the program you put in as lieutenant, having officers in the building, because I think it has done a lot to build that partnership when school's out of session. I know that Officer Oren, when he talked about Safety Cap possibly coming back, there was a unanimous hurrah from the principals, and I know that they've been deeply collaborating on that. So the issues are real. The scooters is just one of a myriad of things that we talk about in our safety meetings, both at the building and at the district. And I would say, just as an aside on the scooter conversation, having an SRO, connecting with other Dane County school districts and SROs, they've been sharing videos and sharing ideas, so we've tapped into a whole variety. Funny story, the SRO was doing a scooter safety video in Mount Horeb, and they were in downtown when a scooter went flying by while they were videotaping and then ran into a parked car. Kid was okay, but it was like a great addendum to the, this is why we have, you wear your helmets when you ride your bikes, you wear your helmets when you're doing scooters, and you have to pretend like you're riding a bike. You gotta watch out for people. So it's the 2021 version of public safety.
Any other questions? All right, we can see you out in white. Brandon was chosen as chief. Thank you. All right. Cue this up here. I just got a few slides, so I'll whip through them quick. Thanks for being here today. I know you guys are busy.
Thank you.
All right. These are your local elected officials. We are all up for re-election. We were all running unopposed. I'm not really sure what that means. Either people think it's a thankless job, or they think we're doing okay, or they just don't care. I'm not really sure. But, so I'm running for a 4-year term, and then so the alders for each one of your districts that are up for re-election, as well as Supervisor Engelberger. His is a 2-year term. These are the committees Mike are on. He went through that one at the last coffee with the mayor. And he's been focusing quite a bit lately on the Alliant Energy Center. Mike and I drove up to Madison last week for an open house to get some feedback on the plans for the Coliseum. Frank Productions is looking at investing $100 million into the Coliseum to basically remodel the inside of it. So right now it holds 10,000 people, and by the time they get done, there would be new concessions, new bathrooms, everything would be ADA accessible, more than likely some luxury box seats, and the attendance, and there would be about 6,800, and they think that'll be a good size for like concert venues. So they really want to open up not only the Coliseum, but the entire campus there, and make it more of a destination place, hotels, restaurants, retail. So be interesting to see how that plan comes together. This is a picture of the depot, and then I have a couple slides that I added later that are somewhat relevant. But this is the building that the Schmidt Foundation purchased, and the other pictures I have are some properties that are down there that they're under contract with, which is really exciting that they're starting to accumulate some properties for the art district that they want to expand down there. So we already have Able Contemporary, we have Grand Inspired. This building here will have some exhibits, some gathering spaces, and some areas for artists to work. And Kara is the executive director. She began to work down there full-time last week, so they're still kind of decorating the inside of the building. So you can expect to see more activity down here. They've invested about $500,000 on the inside of the building, and then they have another $500,000 invested on the outside of the building. They'll be putting in new doors and windows. Stoughton Trailers Community Park, the Park and Rec Committee continues to work on a couple different options. This is kind of option A. And basically what it comes down to is we're going to start out with some soccer fields and then eventually go from there. And the way it works is on these parks we collect impact fees when a building permit is pulled based on the amount of apartments, single-family homes, and duplexes that are going to be built. We're going to have about $1 million worth of money to work with to put amenities in the park. $1 million isn't going to get us much. If you went down to Matt Park, I'll show you the slide later, of the shelter. That shelter down there was $400,000. So you can expect on a larger park, you could easily spend $1 million just on the shelter. So we're going to be looking probably for some fundraising opportunities to put in the other amenities. They have basketball court, they have kind of a gazebo area, they have pickleball courts, and of course there's some desire in the community to have an aquatic center, but I think that'll be just a totally separate discussion, because that'll be millions of dollars just for that. But you can see kind of the layout. There's trail systems, there's parking. There seems to be pretty good flow, trying to create some separation for where children might be versus parking for safety reasons. So these are the things that the committee is in the process trying to make some recommendations for. This is Matt Park. So we've done a lot of work down there. You probably heard we're going to be moving the Taste of Stoughton down there, so they're making arrangements. But this is kind of what it looks like from the overhead. And we're just finishing up the shelter up here, which I'll show you on the slide. There's 4 restrooms in the shelter. Trail system will get you down to the river. There's steps, there's ramps, it's ADA accessible. And then we've also been working with the DNR, which I'll cover a little bit. So this is kind of the DNR work. So we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago about 2 downstream features we want to put in. This is what the DNR is considering a small dam. And then there's another feature that we call a deflector. where the water rushes down, hits the rocks that are protruding out from the riverbank and creates a wave. And the permits really allow us to do the installation of that, as well as fill in the head race and tail race, which are the little ponds between the powerhouse and the river, and between Stoughton Utilities and the river. And also put the sidewalk trail underneath the bridge there. So that is all tentatively approved, and they have a 120-day window in order to review public comments. So unless there's something in there that was missed, we expect that this will be approved here in the next few months, and we could begin work in coordination with the work across the river on the apartments. And we want to coordinate the work together because there's contamination in the riverbank and then in the river itself. So we're working with the consulting company that does the site contamination removal, and hopefully we can create efficiencies to haul in dirt and haul dirt out. Some of the stuff has to go to a special landfill, and then we'll have to bring in some clean soil, so we're in the process of looking for some fill. So if you know anyone that has any fill, send them our way. It's expensive to haul, so we're looking for stuff locally, so we're contacting the local builders to see if they have any excess. There's a picture of what the shelter's looking like, and like I said, there's 4 bathrooms, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Pretty modest for $400,000, but that's what they get. And that's really working directly with like a builder, and not getting bogged down in the engineering would be even more. So as far as the river park, these are kind of some scenarios of what it might look like is if you were gonna paddle underneath the bridge. And then you can kind of see the trail to the left, and there's a better picture. And that's what that would look like, the trail that was approved. So we can bike, we can walk. When the water level is high, we might have to close that if the water rises inside of there. But that'll all be controlled by, basically the DNR will inform us, just like they do now. When the water level gets high, we adjust the dam. When it gets low, we adjust the dam. There won't be an adjustment on the dam itself. There might be a feature that would be inflatable for the low water flow. So if it was a drought condition, we might be able to make an adjustment on a hydraulic lift that would give us a little bit more usage during the drought periods. But during the high level flow, this would be closed. But this year, I don't think it would have been closed at all based on the amount of precipitation we had. It's a pretty dry year overall. It started out wet and it just stopped. So as the DNR was kind of doing their assessment on these permits, this is the criteria they use. And of course, we believe that we check most of these boxes as far as improving the fish habitat and the water and the ecology, the fishing. And probably the biggest question is really how it might affect the riparian property owners. And certainly that's a concern that they have and we're trying to address. So we're working through that right now. But other than that, we really think that out of all the items that are up here, there's 12 of them, we at least check 11 of the boxes as a positive. So in our view, this project is in the public interest. Once we get the below dam stuff finalized, then we would work on what they would call the dam reconstruction, which requires a change in the water level order, and that's a separate process. We have to be able to demonstrate it's in the public interest, and that's the criteria that we would be using for that. And we just believe that the recreational and the environmental improvements that it'll make is definitely in the public interest, but ultimately the DNR will make the decision, not us. And then we'll go from there. So one thing that's been happening quite a bit lately I'm really excited about is some of our current businesses. Imagine Academy is one, Anytime Fitness is another one. La Cantina just changed their name and moved their location. Viking Day Camp is purchasing the Quick Trip on Roby Road. We're seeing some of our businesses growing, which is really exciting for me because this location here at one point was a location for the Stoughton Center for the Arts. And when the building came up for sale out in the business park, I was able to connect them with the building owner, and they came to an agreement on a sale, which gave them way more space for, they do dance, band, singing, all sorts of things in their building. So it gave them more space, it opened up the space here, and now another business is able to move up. And that's really exciting for me to see our businesses grow, especially our homegrown businesses. And that creates opportunities in their current location. So Imagine Academy is part of Primal Fitness. So Primal Fitness will remain down there, so they'll have more room to expand that business as well, because Imagine Academy was upstairs there, and it wasn't very accessible for people to get up the steps. So this is going to be a great ground level location for them, and they'll be opening up here in the next few weeks. I think they're pretty much moved in now. They're going to have the grand opening. So those are little things that are happening in our community that people might not notice, but I sure do, because it really shows that our local economy is doing well. We talked about volunteer groups and fundraisers. The flowers should be going out here sometime before 2nd of Mai. In the flower boxes, there may be a couple opportunities left. They did expand from 18 to 22 this year. And Steve Lyons has really been the driver of this one. Steve was also really involved with the pancake breakfast that Dr. Kieser mentioned. So we have amazing people, in the community volunteering and coming up with ideas to make things better here in Stoughton. Music appreciation, John is here. Do you want to talk about it?
From today we start out with the Senior Center Harris Drummers ukulele group, and we also have a Stoughton High School grad that's performing, and then we do the state, some of the state entries for solo ensemble from the high school. But we're all set to go.
I'm hoping my grandson will be in that. I don't know if he is or not. He's a freshman.
Could be. I don't know yet. Dan chooses those as we go along.
Yeah, they had a great time Saturday.
Yeah.
We really did. It was very well coordinated, and like I said, there are at least 3 of you here in the room I know volunteered, so that was awesome.
It's quite amazing. 750 entries in 15 centers, and probably maybe 3,000 plus people there between students and observers. So it just ran smooth as could be. Dan did an amazing job.
Yeah, the feedback I've received from just people coming in and out and the judges was very overwhelmingly positive. It's a little bit of a maze in the high school because I forget how many different rooms there were.
That's right.
There's at least a dozen, wasn't there?
Yep.
But people seem to find their way around. We had, volunteers were stationed in the building to help them, and it's really a nice way to showcase our building too. And these are all things that hopefully will help attract people to come to Stoughton. You talked about enrollment. Anytime we can get somebody in our community, whether it's in a school or it's downtown, it's at Man Park, that's a good way to advertise our community, because we've invested a lot of money in our buildings. If you don't believe me, you can look at your tax bill, in the schools, but that's money well invested. It's going to serve us for a long time. Same thing with our budget. We've borrowed a lot of money the last several years, but we hope that you feel that the money's been well invested in our roads, getting rid of the lead pipes, improving our parks and our trail systems, and also looking at opportunities to really unload things that cause financial burden, like the depot, quite frankly, which I think is going to have a better use anyway. So we've been working with the Historical Society as well. I don't know if you heard, we're donating $80,000 from the sale of the buildings so they can put up a structure next to the Luke Stoughton House, so they can store the rest of their items down there. So that should set them up long-term as well. So I'm pleased that that worked out. Some of you were here when there was a meeting to discuss that. It was really helpful that he came out to kind of balance the argument. So when it came time for City Council to make a decision, they knew there was support to either leave the chamber and the Historical Society down there, or to do what we ultimately did, and that was to relocate them. So we appreciated that too. Spread Goodness Day, Dr. Kieser mentioned. I'm going to be up at the high school. It's Friday the 13th. So next Friday at 9 o'clock. Michael Johnson from the Boys and Girls Club is going to be there. They came upon pallets of Dove soap. So working with START, which is a local nonprofit that helps people in need, they're going to be handing out free Dove products, soap, shampoos, starting at 9 o'clock. So we're going to have, I think, Representative Udall and Senator Ratcliffe are going to be there as well. So hopefully we have a nice sunny day like this, when people can come and get some free soap. And in the past, we've had proclamations. We've had, the governor did a proclamation. We've had entertainment down here a couple of years with McCloskey's that were sponsored. And then a lot of the area businesses are doing kind of their own in-house things, like they're handing out bookmarks and coloring books and doing different things at assisted living and after-school and daycare programs. So the event's been growing, and it's a lot of fun. At first I'm like, what is this all about? Are we supposed to be nice every day? Yeah, most people are. It only takes a few. But it really gives us a day to really reflect, and I think that's really important. That's all I had today. I know you had a lot of other information, so I tried to keep mine short, but we can stick around afterward if you have any questions. Anything initially you want to talk about? Yes, sir.
We had a program at the library yesterday about Bob Hummy, the friendly giant who grew up in Stoughton.
Yeah, isn't he in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so, is he? Because we were talking about a plaque and stuff, and I said I would ask you about what it takes to get into the Stoughton Hall of Fame.
We have a committee for the Stoughton Hall of Fame. I'm probably looking for somebody to be on that committee, if you know anyone. We haven't met. We need to select somebody for 2024 maybe, or maybe 2025. I'll have to look.
Yeah.
So we got behind during the pandemic, then we got caught up, and then we ended up selecting 2 of them a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And the last one was the wrestling one. And we never got together with them to actually have a formal ceremony. We have their bio, and I don't have a picture.
Who was that?
Stoughton Wrestling. We're going to honor like the wrestling program. Instead of the individual wrestlers, we're going to do all of them. So we're about due to meet. If you're interested, or you know somebody who wants to be on the committee, just shoot me an email, and I'll get you on the list, because one of the members moved. And then I can call a meeting, and what we do is we do have a list of people that have been nominated, and then what we ask you to do is come to the meeting with additional people if you know, like, hey, they should be on the list and they're not.
Okay.
And then we also, on our website, you can just Google it, Stoughton Hall of Fame. You'll see all the people that have already been inducted. I know one of the Hommies was, there's 2 of them.
Yeah, we
wasn't
did
there?
Bob Hummy.
Okay.
And Walt Edison a few years ago.
Yeah. So if they're not already
I'll check.
inducted, and they're not on the nomination, we can certainly nominate them, and then usually somebody will make a motion, and then we'll see who gets selected.
Okay.
So that's kind of the process. It's
Yeah,
not
I'll
very
get some of that.
complicated. And then typically in the past, what's his name, Hummel? Is that his name?
No, this is Bob Hummy,
Yeah.
the friendly giant. Yeah, he's like a guy in Canada.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the writers, Rick.
Yeah, no, that's Ferd.
Okay, Ferd, yeah.
Yeah.
Ferd, I think he's in, right?
Yeah, I had to induct him, remember?
Yeah.
And Walt Adelson.
Yeah.
That was what, 4 years ago?
Yeah, so then we usually have the ceremony either at the gazebo, or if the family wants a private one, we'll do like a gathering here or at the fire station. But certainly, I should get caught up on that. And the group of people that are on the committee are good to work with, so I just need to call together the team. So, yeah, if you want to look for that, and then if you want to, even if you don't want to be on the committee, if you want to shoot me some names for nominees, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the fellow that did the program, I think, would be the guy, so we'll see.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks again for being here. See you again next month.